everyone. I am married with Chief Financial Mom, and Maggie is out this week. She has sick kids. So we're excited to welcome you today. And we're really excited to have Ed Coambs, who is the author of Healthy Love and Money Way. Ed is the founder of Healthy Love and Money Practice and is both a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified financial planner. And he's a leader of financial therapy around the world. And he can be found at www.healthyloveandmoney.com. And we're so glad to welcome you, Ed. Welcome.
Mary, it's great to be with you today. I'm so excited to be having this conversation. I know we've had some conversations before the interview, and I know today's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm really excited too. So dating back, Ed and I met a few months ago at FinCon, a group where we got together, and it was so fun to come back and realize like how our lives have kind of intertwined at different times. So we were like two ships never meeting in the night.
Right,
so it's
right.
to finally meet tonight. While I was there, Ed came up to me and handed me his newest book. This is really exciting. It's called Healthy Love and Money. And the Healthy Love and Money Way. And I started reading it as soon as I got home from the conference and just loved his stories. Ed, you've done such a good job of capturing your history and really what makes you you and how this has impacted. And I feel like when I was reading through it, I thought, you know, this is Ed not just sharing his story. It's not an autobiography, but instead it's really written to say, and help other people through your journey and through your experiences is how I read that. So tell me about like, how did you start this whole process of writing this journey and what your thoughts are around it?
Well, you know, I'm really glad that you picked up on that dynamic. This book actually came out of a very difficult time. I was trying to finish my PhD. I had just failed comprehensive exams and I was not in a great space. And so I was like, screw it, I don't know what to do. And then, you know, I was death scrolling Facebook and this like write your book in 30-day challenge popped up. And I was like, oh, that's what I need to do right in the middle of my, you know, failing comprehensive exams for my PhD. So, you know, I kind of answered the call, and I'll tell you what, I've been on my own healing journey prior to that, but sitting down and writing my story, and that's really where how this book kind of came to be. Is the first draft of the book was more autobiographical. And when I went to work with my publisher, she said, you know, this is really great and powerful, but I think, you know, like you have so much guidance to offer too. What do you think about writing chapters that are more of that self-help guidance side and bringing them together? And so a lot of credit to my publisher to help me see how like I could blend these two things together and get something even better. And so it's been a tremendous journey to get to this point.
Well, and I just can't recommend it enough because what I really felt like when I was reading through your book is how personal you got with some of these things. I mean, you really don't hold back. And I think that's very fearful for many of us to think, not just am I telling my story to someone, but now you're really exposing it. And yet what I found through that is that's where the healing comes in, right? That's how you're able to help someone else, is by you sharing that. And I felt like when I was reading through it, it was your way of encouraging the reader to also talk through their money story so that healing the trauma and significant issues in their life can come about. Was that the part of the intention with it?
That's a big part of the intent. And that's part of the broader understanding of what does it mean to heal trauma. And I think, you know, in a very simple kind of continuum, I never would have said I even have trauma. Even after I finished going through becoming a licensed couples therapist, I said, Ed, do you have any trauma in your background? I would have said, no, I don't have any trauma in my background. I was still deep in denial about how my past had shaped me, and I really didn't want to see that. And so, you know, over time, after I got out of the counseling program and tried to get my counseling practice going, I kind of knew enough to know there was more going on inside of me that I probably needed to figure out if I was genuinely going to help people. I just didn't want to go there. But, you know, life circumstances I talk about in the book, my wife had 3 miscarriages during this period of time. I ended up really struggling to get my counseling practice going. And so I fell into a very deep depression, which led me to ultimately face like, what is this all really about for me? And that's where I really got serious about being in therapy, not just being a therapist. Because to be a really effective therapist, you have to have worked through your own story enough that you can sit with other people and be comfortable with them sharing their story. And so, today, working with a client who I've been with for a couple of months, that was the day. Today was the day, like their story broke wide open. And, I could sit there and be with them as they were sharing a very painful part of their life and history that is very much connected to their financial life. And so, yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces, Mary, but this story is a huge part of it, and how we tell the story, what we can tell about the story. And this is one of those great misnomers. It's like, well, it happened in the past. You can't change what happened in the past.
Right.
That is technically true.
Right.
Whatever the adversity is that happened in the past, we cannot change that. But what we know from counseling psychology is that we can change the meaning and feelings associated with it. And that's the healing piece. So we're not trying to wipe out or minimize any painful things in the past. We can't do it. But what we can do is allow space and light to get in there so that the trauma or the painful past doesn't hold power over our life in the same way.
Yeah. That's so beautifully said, because I would be a little bit like you, Ed. I look back in my life and I think, well, I've not really experienced significant trauma. Like, I've never been part of the military. I've never had PTSD. I've never experienced these things. But then you look back and all of us have had hard things happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And difficult things that we've each had to work through. I know my husband is a psychologist, by the way, and came, or a counseling background. And he came from a very similar place where he was in a lot of pain and learned through that pain. That's how he was able to get help, is by reaching out and not only learning about it, but also going through the process himself. And I think that's the interesting part with us, is it's not just reading a book and knowing about it. I think this starts it, but and that's why I loved about your book, is the exercises and the action oriented side of it, because you can't just think through it and, okay, well, I was hurt in the past, and then there's a lot of blame and shame and all the other stuff that comes with that. Right. But it's really working through it. And that's where the true healing comes in.
That's right. And I think it's a deep reciprocal process. Probably for many people, and definitely for therapists, we want to go intellectual or cognitively through it and understand, how does trauma work?
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of value in being able to think through and understand the mechanisms of trauma and what is trauma, and be able to define all that. And then so for clinicians, as well as for some people on the journey, that then provides a really nice structure or scaffolding as you open up that vulnerability to move through it, because now you can explain and describe what's happening for you, and you feel back in control. So even you're feeling paradoxically out of control, but you can step back into that structure of the knowledge and understanding of how trauma works to feel supported, and not like you're crazy or irrational, unbelievable, which are things that usually come up as you're living in the trauma side of the experience.
Yep. That's one thing, Ed, that I really appreciated in your book too, is the fact that not only were you sharing these traumatic events, but you helped us realize as a reader that you can thrive from that healing process. And I really want to hone in on this idea of healing through pain, and specifically ask you about, how do you heal through financial trauma and financial infidelity or hurtful relationships?
Yeah, so let's see if we can break it up in a few pieces, right? Healing through pain. So we use pain as the big catch-all. Mm-hmm. And beneath it, we know that there's emotion words associated with pain, right? So it's shame, it's anger, it's sadness. Betrayal is not really technically a feeling, it's more of an experience, but it's part of that pain experience or constellation. Sadness, anxiety, right? These are all different emotional states that come along with the pain of something happening to us. So then what we're trying to validate is that many people have painful financial experiences that have any one of or all of those words associated with it. Mm-hmm. From very simple things, simple from an adult perspective. Going to the store, wanting something as a 5-year-old, and having your mom or your dad snap at you, and you collapse into tears, and then they tell you, get over it, it's not a big deal. Why are you crying about it? Or some other combination, right? This leaves you with emotional pain around that request for the toy or something that you're naturally going to be excited about and don't know better or can't understand why mom and dad are snapping at you.
Right.
Because you don't have a full money concept yet, right? So that's a classic childhood example. To far more complicated situations like adult estate planning and wealth transition. I have another couple that I'm working with. They both have complex trauma in their background, but they're also inheritors, and they're having to sort through the inherited house, the house that they've been given, siblings claim to a portion of the inheritance, navigating all of this, and then recognizing like, wait, hold on, my deceased family member actually did this more in their self-interest than for my benefit, but it was portrayed that way. So I've just laid in lots of pieces really quick. But that's a financial trauma because there was not clarity of communication between the soon to deceased family member and the receiving generation about all the expectations. There was mixed expectations that were not fully stated. And so that's where things get a lot more complicated and messy. And this is why we avoid talking about our financial life oftentimes in the intimate partnership and then in the broader family system, is we don't know how to manage each other's feelings and emotions and the inevitable differences about the decisions that are being made. So I think that covers most of what you asked. If I missed something, please let me know.
No, I think what is so fascinating about you, Ed, is that not only do you have the marriage and family therapy side, right? Like you understand, and just even talking through with you and reading the book, it's very clear that you're a well-trained therapist and that you can help individuals in that, right? But the most fascinating part is that you merge this money side. That often what I've seen in the past is therapists are over here and therapists, and as soon as you bring up money, they kind of go, oh no, I don't want to hear about it, talk about it, or know anything about it. And they go, okay, let's go back to the relationship, right? And then on the opposite extreme, we have a bunch of financial planners who are saying, okay, here's your plan, here's what you need to do, here's how we execute, and something comes up with maybe infidelity, or maybe like you're saying, inheritance, or a whole broad range of things, and they go, I don't want to talk about it. And so then there's no middle ground for individuals to really get that help, because they think they're going to their help providers. But that's where I think you do such a beautiful job of bringing those two sides together and say, not only is it okay to talk about the whole side of you, the trauma side, the pain side, the healing side, but also the financial side and what happened not only as a child, but what's happening currently in your current relationships or in the past, right? And that's where I think this idea of financial therapy really comes into place and is such an incredible being. Tell us more about financial therapy.
Yeah, well, I think you really highlight the essence of financial therapy is, and it's not Ed's original idea. It's a community of professionals who have stumbled into this realization on their own paths. And we've formed a wonderful organization, the Financial Therapy Association. So if you're looking for support from a financial therapist, check out financialtherapyassociation.org. And there's even a directory listing of different financial therapists. So find the one that feels like would be a good fit for you. But I think from a very practical standpoint, Mary, the reality is we can only address what we've been trained to address professionally.
Absolutely.
And so when you look at the educational history of most therapists, they have a lot of classes in the humanities, but they often don't have many classes in the business world. When you look at for many planners, not all of them, they have business education. So they learn about accounting and marketing and management and finance. All really great for running a business, but not really great for deeply understanding people. Right? Therapists understand people at some of the deepest levels in society, like that, and that's part of the nature of the job. Is we kind of have to take, and it feels presumptuous in some ways, hold the position of deeply understanding people, because who else does? Right? We make it our job to understand people in the deepest way possible. That's there are very few other professions that really try to do that. I mean, philosophers probably get at it, some theologians, some, but in different angles. So I don't want to digress, but it is, as a human, we are a human before we're a financial functioning individual.
Yes, absolutely.
And we bring our full humanness into our financial functioning and all of those experiences. And so until you have a professional that can marry those two worlds, there's naturally going to be this gray space. And most of us are also socialized to trust authority figures. And so like if my therapist is saying like, oh no, it's more about the relationship, it's not about what's going on with the money. Okay, well, I guess that's okay. I mean, right, like you're the expert.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, I need to get this estate plan worked out, and my dad, and this and that. Oh, well, draw up this trust and put it in the inherited IRA, and you take your distributions, and 30 years from now you'll have this much money, and everything will be okay. Oh, well, I mean, if you say, wait, but I'm going home and I'm talking to my wife, and she's flipping out because we need to use the money now, but I want to keep it for the future. My therapist says just do the relationship. My planner says just trust the markets and the compound interest. And like we're stuck with each other and disagree about what to do with this inherited money, which otherwise should be a gift, but is not a gift.
Absolutely. And I would encourage anybody listening today, you can absolutely reach out to Ed. You can find a financial therapist on Financial Therapy Association, but I would also encourage the help providers that we just talked about. So the therapist and the financial planners to also reach out. Ed, this isn't just for consumers. It's really for them to bring their clients. I've worked with clients in the past who financial planners who have had planner or clients for decades, right? But because some of the things you've just talked about, some of the trauma, some of the mental health issues, some of the things that are going on with that client, they couldn't do anything. And they finally said, Mary, help us out. We don't know what to do. And so that's where I think, Ed, you can be, and all of those in financial therapy can be such a resource for other helping professionals. Right. Because you are trained in both of those worlds. And so when it comes to the part where you say, oh, I don't want to hear this or know this, instead of just closing it off, taking that extra step and giving them that extra resource they need.
That's right. Yeah, I think it's staying open to it. It is having to work with your own fear and anxiety on either side of it, is like really having to explore, well, what is mental health? What does that mean? Or like, wait, you mean people can actually plan and be organized around their finances?
Yeah.
Which is a really foreign concept for a lot of therapists. So yeah, I mean, it's recognizing there's this professional community that will support you as well.
Absolutely. Well, Ed, thank you so much for your time. I want to tell everybody today, grab your copy. We'll put a link in the show notes of Healthy Love and Money Way. And check out Ed and all that he does. Find him on Instagram, YouTube. Ed, can you tell us the best way to get a hold of you? Is it through your?
Yeah, Instagram is great. LinkedIn, if that's where you like to go. The website is, like I have regular blog posts and a newsletter. So if you go to the website, you can get connected up on that and stay current.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us. And thank you, Ed, for being our special guest today.
Thanks, Mary. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.